Good morning. Well, welcome to Fall 2020 Convocation for State Fair Community College. Like so many things we have experienced for the first time these last 6 months during the COVID-19 pandemic, this is the first virtual convocation in our college's 52-year history. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Joanna Anderson, president at State Fair. And I missed seeing you and saying hello to you in person this morning over breakfast. And if in like years past, I would have heard about your summer experiences, which unfortunately, probably we didn't have many of this summer. But I do miss you. And we're gonna get through this virtual convocation together this morning. And it's gonna be interesting, and I hope just a tad bit of fun. You know, since the national emergency was declared in March, our college has undergone a tremendous change, some of which you are going to hear about this morning. One thing I can assure you, from the very first COVID task force meeting, all of the decisions we have made have focused first on the safety and welfare of our people, you, our employees, and our students. And second, on continuing our mission to provide relevant and responsive learning experiences that empower our students and communities to prosper. To do that successfully during these challenging times, it's about community. And that community starts with our internal community, which is all of you, our educators and our service providers. And Jolynn is running the PowerPoint that we're going to be sharing. So she has to share screen. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. This is very different from years past. And we're going to get through this together. We're more concerned about the technology than what any of us are saying. So I hope the screen is going to be shared. The agenda. So as we look at this agenda, we're going to be introducing our new employees, and you're going to get to see their faces in just a minute. It's so important that we would have recognized them if we were in person. But today, we're going to celebrate you. You're going to hear about the state of our college. I know many of you are concerned about the budget. We had a lot of changes at the end of last fiscal year, and there's other topics that we're going to share with you this morning. And then you're going to hear an inspirational message from Lenny Freund, who was our distinguished alumnus for the year. Dr. Amanda Drake is going to share a faculty perspective. We get to listen to Christina Vinrow, our SGA president. Then you're going to learn about technology that we have implemented and that's going everywhere with Mark Haverly, a culture of care addressing COVID-19, about how we are returning to campus and how we are striving to be safe during this pandemic, Dr. Brent Bates and Dr. Autumn Porter. You're going to also hear an update on the Workforce Innovation Center and learn about our foundation, mini grants, and the capital campaign. And then we're going to kind of close out with looking ahead. Our institutional effectiveness office is going to talk about what's the next steps in implementing our strategic plan, and also the accreditation process. Seems like we just went through that, but we're going to hear about the next stages in the process and conclude with some recognition of our employees, including the Sizzle Award from our most recent recipient, William Thomas. This virtual, there we go. We're going to bring up Rachel as the person to introduce our new employees. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning. Well, it's good to virtually see everyone. So I'm excited to introduce our new employees. Of course, orientation, and as you guys know, convocation looks very different this year. Normally I would say pop in and say hi to these folks, but it's a little different. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you popping into anybody's office unannounced anymore, but you might drop them a line and say welcome. So we're going to start. Let's see, I want to make sure. I'm going to start with Julie Brewster, the Academic Records and Services Coordinator. Brett Butler, Program Director of OTA. Madeline Cottrell, Assistant Director of Sonography. Amanda Delp, the Clinical Instructor of OTA. Alexa Durant, a Welding Instructor. Deborah Gerhardt, Student Success Navigator. Linda Harris, Graphic Design Instructor for the CTC. Evan Logue, Faculty Nursing Instructor. Ryan Mahana, our Theater Program Coordinator and Instructor. Raymond Simmons, our Industrial Electrical Maintenance Program Coordinator and Instructor. Terry Sneathan, IT Services Specialist. And Rebecca Throneberry, Academic Fieldwork Coordinator for OTA. So again, I would really encourage everyone to drop them a line and make them feel welcome, but we're excited to have you and welcome.
Thank you, Rachel. Congratulations to all of our new employees. Thank you for joining the Roadrunner family, and I wish you the very best and welcome you to call or stop by my office for a socially distanced visit in mask. Generally, our door would be open, but because we want to ensure Jolene's safety, it's unlocked, but it's shut. So just knock, and we'd love to have you stop by for a visit. I wanted to let you know that if you have questions or comments about the information presented this morning, please share those in YouTube or on the college's employee Facebook page. We have folks monitoring those, and we'll try really hard to respond. Now, a big plus of watching this convocation remotely is that you can eat and drink all that you want, that you've provided, and take a break when you want. But I encourage you to stay tuned, because if you're lucky, you might hear your name during the door prize drawings. All right, so with that, I'm going to talk about State Fair Community College, and it's about community. You know, they say a crisis brings out the best and the worst in people. This pandemic has brought out the best in so many people, from our theater costumer making masks, to our facilities team installing hundreds of feet of plexiglass, to fish, food, and flower deliveries that I know many of you have made to family and friends, to the virtual student services help desk. Oh my, it's really cool. You need to stop in and see it. The creativity and innovation of you, our faculty and staff, in online course delivery, it has just been phenomenal. So thank you. As I address the state of our college, I want to begin with the importance of culture. And this year, especially, the importance of having a culture of care. You know, during a pandemic, we have to care for each other. We have prided ourselves on having a culture with open doors, being friendly, caring, and this can be really, really hard when we are not able to hug our graduates, enjoy lunch with coworkers, and be there physically for each other. You know, in this photo, you can see that Charles has 2 thumbs up. And Charles, I really hope that you're able to express those thumbs up with our residence hall students by the end of the semester. You know, according to Forbes, a company culture isn't just what you do, it's who you are. It's who we are. So what do we do at State Fair Community College? We educate, we train, we skill up, we enrich, sometimes we entertain, and most of all, we serve, all of which is important. That's our business. But our culture is who we are. It's the people that you saw in the previous slide that are giving hugs to graduates, that are caring. And in this slide, the residence hall folks and student activities, Roadrunner Day, Roadrunner Preview, and the Dom Escape. Those are not going to happen like they have in years past. The reality is it's going to be a really, really tough year. But if we care for each other, we'll get through it together. And that's what is really important this year. The way we treat our students, our coworkers, our supervisors, and our administrators defines our culture. A culture of caring encompasses many things. Leaders who care about employees, and I can assure you, the leaders that I'm working with here truly care about their employees. Employees caring for each other and for our students, and everyone caring about our college's mission and our purpose. You know, I love this photo. I believe it was a student activities fair, and seeing Mariana Townsend and Dr. Rhonda Frizzell interacting with students is what we're all about, which makes it really difficult this year. But caring for each other is so important. I know because of you, the state of our college is sound and well. We had to make some really difficult decisions at the end of the fiscal year and in balancing a budget. And you're going to hear about that shortly. You know, we had to eliminate 9 full-time staff positions, and that was really, really hard. However, a small win is that we were able to hire 3 of the individuals back in different positions. And I hope that those individuals are watching today and that you know we are very glad you're back with us. Now, a fun part, we get to have the first drawing of the day, and Jolynn is going to announce who wins the first $25 campus store gift certificate. You know, I am so proud that we have an employee engagement committee here at State Fair Community College that even during this pandemic, they're trying to find ways to help us engage and stay connected with each other and have a little fun. It's a terrific group. So, Jolynn, who is the winner? And I can tell you that it's the drawing happened through a random number draw on the phone app, and all of the employees were numbered and in the drawing. So Jolynn, I know you're spinning that number, and who's our first winner? Whoops.
I've figured it out. Okay. The first winner is Michelle Statler. Michelle, you have 60 seconds to post on Facebook, on our Facebook page or on the YouTube that you are here and accept your winning prize. And there's somebody monitoring and they'll notify us. If we don't get a response, then we will move on to our next person at the next drawing.
All right, Michelle, give us a call. We're excited that, again, our employee engagement committee contacted us to say, what can we do to make our convocation, our virtual convocation, fun for everyone? And we're willing to give some campus store gift certificates. So that's a picture of some of the items you're going to see in the campus store. These were taken, I think, yesterday or day before. So I encourage you to use that certificate and come on in. We'll just keep moving along. You know, this convocation has been scheduled for 2 hours, but I'm fairly certain that we are finding that virtual meetings and virtual gatherings go faster than when we're in person, which makes us more effective and more efficient in some ways. So many of you have been asking about the budget. I know in executive leadership team, we talked kind of about 2 things that people wanted to know as we come together for convocation this year. The first one being, we had to make some really tough budget decisions. So what are those looking like? And we're going to talk about that. And the other one is, how do we stay safe? What is our new normal going to be like? And what has been happening to us during this pandemic? And you're going to hear about that too. So to provide an overview of the FY21 budget, I'm proud to introduce our Vice President for Finance. That's Keith Acuff. And Keith, I think you're on with us. Keith, you're going to need to bring yourself on.
Okay, I was waiting. I thought that's what Joanna was doing.
Well,
All right, so let me figure this out here. There we go. Now I have the ability to come on.
all right. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. How are you? Glad to meet everybody. For those of you I've met before, hello. Those I haven't, stop by sometime, virtually, I guess, or bring your mask. So waiting for, I guess, the next slide. For all the excitement of budget, let me say that this is not a math exercise that we're doing right here. I'm giving you an overview of where the budget stands, what we did, and then we'll get on to the more important things here. But the budget we presented to the board and approved in June was 3.5% less than the budget we had, not the budget, than the actual performance we had in 2020. So what we spent in 2020, we're budgeted to spend 3.5% less than that this year. That's 1.8 million. Budget's driven really by two things, and that is an anticipated decline in tuition and fees and an anticipated decline in state appropriations. You may or may not know that our enrollment was anticipated being 15% below. You say, well, then why are tuition and fees only 10% below? And it has to do with this is math here. First of all, we had a tuition increase of around 2% netted out. So there's 2% off the 15. And then the 15% was not applied across the board. It was applied strategically to each of the different tuition levels. So for instance, we know that our online course offerings are actually seeing a slight increase in enrollment. We anticipated that. So therefore that particular item in the budget did not have a 15% increase. It was actually left as flat. However, district, district Sedalia we knew would decline. We put that in at 20%. So that's why you see that a 15% enrollment decline nets out to a 10% decrease in tuition and fees overall. Right now, we're running a little bit ahead of that. Our actual pace on our tuition and fees is about 8% below last year. So that's good. Now we've got a big week coming up right now, and that is the first week of class. And keeping all these young, eager, bright students here, because that -8 could quickly change if for whatever reason they don't show up to begin with, or they choose not to stay. Over the last couple of years, we've typically lost about 2% of our tuition fees during that week. So there's kind of the benchmark we're up against. But so as you all, the faculty, the staff, anyone interacting with these students, let's make sure that they understand that we're doing everything to keep them safe, to keep us safe, to help them succeed, to help them learn. But let's get them here and let's keep them here. And so next week's going to be a big bellwether week to make sure all that happens. From a state standpoint, from appropriations, as you know, we took a cut to our state appropriations last year. That same cut extended into this year. Right now, that cut is 14% of our budget. We anticipate 20%. Our plan budget for 20%. Why? Because we know last year at any point in time, the governor can do a holdback. He did it last year in the last 2 months of the year. So we're never out of the woods here based upon where the pandemic goes, how the economy performs. But to date, they've held back at the 14% level. So where do we make up these funds? Well, as you see, it wasn't really from payroll. Payroll is only down 1% from the prior year. Yes, we lost positions, and so why is it not down more? Well, understand that our health care insurance went up 9% year over year. So that tends to offset a lot of payroll salary and wage reduction. But overall, payroll is actually down 1%. What we worked very, very hard to do with the ELT, with department heads, with everybody, was to find expenses in the operating budget so that we could minimize the payroll. As you know, travel is essentially, I won't say non-existent, but it's highly minimized, saving many hundreds of thousands of dollars there. We had actually a net contribution to revenue from last year that helped. So when we go off last year's overall performance, there was basically a positive that helps us out for this year. We renegotiated contracts with several of our partners to help us to the tune of a few $100,000 as well, to help us short term through this. We've eliminated some subscriptions. We've eliminated memberships. We've eliminated all, operating expenses. Basically, everybody's been told if you can do without it for a year, don't do it. And we are highly successful in keeping those expenses very, very low, which means that we can minimize the payroll impact. So where we stand right now is I feel good about where we are. I feel good about where we're going. Unless there's a dramatic change in enrollment or a dramatic change in state appropriations, we should be good with the budget that we're on right now. And let's keep doing what we're doing. I think we'll be there, and we're anticipating hopefully the spring actually could, if the fall goes well in terms of enrollment, in terms of success of students, we would anticipate spring doing actually better than that. So that is the end of the budget report. We can get on to fun things. One of the things you're going to hear about coming up next, as you've seen, we didn't talk about any CARES money. The CARES money is not to be used for operational, for our operational budget. It's targeted by the government for actually use in technology in helping us mitigate the COVID-19 and to increase distance learning. So we can't use that in our overall planning budget, but Mark and others will talk about what we are doing with the money and some of the very exciting things that is allowing us to do. So welcome back. Have a great year, and thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And I would remind folks, if you do have questions, our panel is going to stay on and we would try to answer those sometime. We've got people monitoring that. I do hope that gives you some comfort in that, yes, we made some very, very difficult and challenging decisions in getting a balanced budget for all of us. But that is so important to keep our institution strong and financially viable. During this pandemic, we have had to make some really challenging decisions and choices. But as you hear from the next individuals that are going to be presenting, we're going to give you a view as to some things that have happened externally. And so you're going to hear from our distinguished alumnus for 2020. You're also going to hear the faculty perspective and the student voice. So as I welcome and introduce to you today, Lenny Freund. Lenny came to the college and actually recorded a message for our graduates. We did a video for them to recognize them. It was my first opportunity to get to meet Lenny. I had heard about him, and so it was a real pleasure. Lenny, today you're with us remotely, and I just welcome you. You grew up here in Sedalia, attended Sacred Heart High School, and you earned a degree from State Fair Community College in 1980. I know you transferred to the University of Central Missouri, and then you have been in the food service industry for a very long time and are well known in that industry. And I know this pandemic has hit that industry tremendously hard. So I hope that you're able to tell a little about your story. And I know that personally, this has been a huge hit for you, but it's so good to see you virtually, and welcome. We're glad to have you here sharing with us today.
Well, Dr. Anderson, thank you for the welcome. I do have a request though. Next year, I want to go over the budget numbers. I don't know anything about them, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. Like
But we
Dr.
can always
Anderson,
use external opinions and views, yes.
like Dr. Anderson said, I've been in the amusement park industry along with fairs and festivals my entire career. In the last 15 years, I've operated my own company, Freund Family Foods, which does food service at big events. In 2019, we operated at some 45 events around the country. And if you would have told me that at the end of last year that our entire business was going to be wiped out at once, I would have said that you're crazy. But that's exactly what has happened. So since the pandemic, I had a choice to make. I could either sit around and complain about it, or I could go out and try to do something about it and generate a little bit of income. So in June, I did something I thought I'd never do again in my lifetime, and that is went to work for someone else. I was fortunate enough to get on with a company called Palace Entertainment, a group that owns 23 amusement parks and water parks across the United States. Now, Freund Family Foods will still be up and operating as soon as those type events happen again. And when that does happen, my kids will be taking the lead running that business. Now, anyone that knows me knows what a big fan I am of Willie Nelson. And several years ago, there was a reporter writing a feature story about Willie and was traveling with the show for several days. After a few days, the reporter asked Willie, shouldn't things be more planned out and more organized? It seems like with everything is so chaotic, between the travel, the hotels, the merchandise. And Willie got a big smile on his face and he said, doesn't it make it a lot more fun just figuring it out as we go? And I guess that's my message to you is keep smiling and embrace change. No one knows how the next 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months is going to play out. And there's going to be a lot of figuring it out as we go for all of us. Now, the good news is that State Fair Community College, the faculty and staff are excellent at adopting to the new teaching strategies, new curriculum, new spaces, new technology, new policy and procedure, and the list goes on. The curriculum has always been a fluid document, meeting the nuances of an ever-changing society. So what a great time to show what a solid leader you are, and what a great time to show what a great teammate that you are. The effect that you have on others is the most valuable commodity that there is. A couple of months ago, there was a documentary on ESPN called The Last Dance, and it was a story of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls basketball team. And one thing that came out loud and clear throughout the documentary is that most of Michael Jordan's teammates really thought that he was pretty much a jerk. And I think that Michael had to kind of drag them along kicking and screaming to get them to play at the level that he needed for them to win all the games that they did. Mediocre people don't necessarily like high achievers, and high achievers don't necessarily like mediocre people. So whether you're playing professional basketball, and I'm going to assume that most of you are not, or working for one of the best community colleges in the entire country, the entire team must be committed to the same goals. Dr. Anderson, thank you for having me. I look forward to my next trip back to Sedalia, and best of luck with your upcoming school year.
Thank you so much, Lenny. I appreciate those words. And yes, I hope the message that our folks are getting today is that this is difficult, it's challenging, we've adopted and adapted, as you've said, but we are all in this together and we're pulling and pushing in the same direction. So thank you so much. I hope that those of us who might get up toward, if you're at the Wisconsin Dells or wherever you might be, well, we hope that we get to see you in the future. And when you're back in Sedalia, please stop in. I'd love to get to visit with you again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker talks about the innovative curriculum that has occurred. You know, our faculty, you are amazing. You step up in March when we moved everything online. You figured out ways to make learning happen and occur as though it had been seamless. And I know that wasn't easy. So Dr. Drake, it's good to see you this morning. I know that you're going to tell and share with us just a little bit how faculty have worked so hard to make this semester get ready for it and go. And I welcome you to the program and Convocation this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I would like to second what you've just said, that I would like to commend and thank the faculty for rising to the challenges of this year. I think we've all done a really fantastic job in embracing the new normal, so to speak. We've used this opportunity to work on fluidly integrating technology into our lessons as a main component of our lessons rather than necessarily as a side note. And we are adopting more hands-on methods to engage students in the classroom. I just have a few examples from a variety of faculty across the college here. In the past, speech students online have recorded their speeches and uploaded the recordings, but this past semester with moving online, we've seen the value of using Zoom and live sessions to allow students to receive more effective audience feedback and a more natural speaking experience. So a lot of online speech instructors are now adopting Zoom for live presentations, and it's going really well. In the sciences, students are given a lot of tools to work with tactile application of principles, but it's really interesting because while technology has been a saving grace online, a lot of the implementation towards hands-on includes materials that students just have every day, and it's rethinking how to get just basic materials to our students for them to learn. So for example, I know anatomy and physiology has given their students individual whiteboards so they can work at their desk without having to be in a group, but they can also share out that material easily that way with still having social distancing rules. There are a lot of fantastic examples that I received from Lee Wilson, so I have to give her a shout out because she has been fantastic with her dental hygiene students. Her dental hygiene students have been using styrofoam heads to learn about anatomy and to like build muscles and nerves onto a styrofoam head. So I think that's really fantastic. She's been teaching them how to give injections by having them use chicken breasts or hot dogs. So overall, there's a sense of an increased level of engagement and reflection happening directly in the classroom, and that's really, really exciting. Many instructors in the spring and in the summer used Zoom as an opportunity to build community with students, not just to teach, but also just to have conversations with their students and to help students with non-cognitive issues that are arising. So features in Zoom like adding poll questions or creating breakout rooms for smaller groups have been really effective and have made online teaching more manageable and more effective for our students. In my own classes this fall, in English, I'm adopting more shared work online outside the classroom. I feel like I can do a lot of group work that I would normally do in class through online tools like Google Docs. And then I also have started to adopt an online social annotation tool that helps students with their reading comprehension skills. So in rethinking my approaches to the classroom, and I think this has happened with a lot of the faculty this year, I realized that we can flip the classroom a little bit more, presenting materials to them online, and then having class time to talk about showing and application rather than just telling lecture. So I'm looking forward to a lot more of the students' ideas coming through in the classroom and the student work coming through in the classroom. Many of the innovative methods adopted for the coming semester will challenge our students to take more initiative and reflect meaningfully on their own learning processes. And I think those are things that I hope will continue as the new normal moving forward. So I do commend the faculty. I think we've all done an excellent job, and I wish you all of the success and wonderful students this semester.
Dr. Drake, thank you for being with us today. You know, I just also have to share a shout out to our faculty. You know, when you move online and that wasn't expected, you wonder if students are going to achieve the competencies that were important for that class, that they need to be successful in going on and either passing certifications or transferring to university. And so I do want to share the example and congratulate all of our faculty. And this is just one, that we had our first ever Clinton Year 2 graduates, and 100% of them passed their boards. We also, you know, that is so exciting. We do have the data from our health science program. So that's one way that we can say, yes, we know that students were able to get competencies, Our health science students in many of the areas have been taking their certifications and boards and exams and are passing at 100%. So congratulations, Amanda, to you, to all of our faculty for the hard work that you put in. And we appreciate what you've been doing. I know recently we had a site visit from a company that's an international company looking to locate here in Sedalia. We were able to host them on our campus. And as part of that, I was sharing about the career and technical programs that we offer. And they said, well, could we see the machine tool lab? And I said, well, I'm sure we can figure that out. So I quickly left the room, called, because I don't even know how to turn the lights on in the machine tool room. But this just goes to speak to our faculty. We went there and Justin Wright was actually in his classroom preparing for the fall semester and got to meet those individuals and tell them how we could educate their employees if they decide to locate here in Sedalia. It was tremendous. Yeah. And anytime I get to interact with faculty, it's so exciting because you all have such passion for what you're teaching and you love to teach. We know that's why you're here at State Fair Community College. That comes through for our students. So thank you, Dr. Drake. Thank all of you faculty. We really appreciate it. Next up, you're going to get to hear from our Student Government Association President, Christina Vinrow. Christina comes from a hometown in Wichita. And so Christina, we're really glad to have you back here at State Fair Community College. You're going to be a sophomore, so you made it through year one, part of it online. When we moved everybody home and out of the residence hall, we, it is so important for some of us, we have been disconnected from our students since March. Not so for all of our faculty, but for those of us who have been either working remotely or when we didn't have students coming on campus. So welcome. We're glad to meet you, see you face to face. So now everyone knows who our SGA president is. And I think you have a message for us this morning.
Yes, I do. So nice to meet you all. My name is Christina Vinrow, and I'm super excited to be this year's SGA president. At the moment, I'm just getting my gen eds done, but after this year, I plan on going to a four-year university in Florida to study marine biology, which I'm really excited about. But staying healthy was pretty difficult these past few months because a lot of people weren't following the rules regarding social distancing and mask wearing. I just made sure that I was wearing a mask, using hand sanitizer like crazy, and just taking the necessary precautions to stay safe. So I chose to run for the Student Government Association president position because I really want to make sure all of the students feel welcome and confident. I came from Wichita, Kansas, so I didn't know anyone, and it was my first time being away from home, which is really hard to get used to. Knowing how difficult that is, I want to help all of those students who are having a hard time leaving home, being shy, and those who are struggling to make friends. I want to get even more students involved in our everyday activities and really enjoy the camaraderie. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to one of my favorite teachers from this past year. While learning and singing in choir, Dr. Kindle really pushed each and every singer to do their best and to have fun while doing it. He was extremely welcoming and made my transition to State Fair so much easier. So thank you, Dr. Kindle, and I'm really excited about choir this year. Now, I just want to mention a few things from a student perspective. First of all, I came to State Fair for a numerous amount of reasons. My main reason was because of the amount of well-qualified teachers, you guys, and plenty of resources to excel in my education. State Fair also has an amazing soccer program, and I'm so proud and thankful to be a part of an amazing group of hardworking girls. The women's soccer team continues to get better each year with our amazing coaching staff, players, and students. And supporters, sorry. I also really love the community here. The students are super involved in every activity from sporting games to game nights in the library and to musical and choir events. I know that my soccer team was always in the audience supporting me while I was performing in choir, and that meant so much to me. So far, State Fair has exceeded my expectations and helped me gain many new friendships and opportunities to grow as a person. Now, I do have a few concerns with this upcoming year, which includes the lack of participation due to the coronavirus, forgetting masks, and people not following the social distancing rules. And that can be pretty hard to enforce sometimes. I think we're going to have to be very strict about the mask rule, and we can help students out by giving them a reusable mask, and hand sanitizing stations will also be very helpful throughout this year. So we're all going to need to be involved in creating a safe environment for all the staff and students. And thank you for listening, and I'm excited for this upcoming year.
Thank you so much, Christina. You know, it was good to hear your student perspective. And when I talked to Christina and asked her if she would do this, I said, are your parents nervous about you heading off to college? And I'm sure they are somewhat. But one thing she said to me was, you know, in looking at our return to campus plan, it seemed to her that we were doing what we could to keep her safe. I know, Christina, you're living over in the apartments, and you've met your roommates already. And
Yes.
our faculty and staff are going to hear about that. It was really good to hear the student perspective. And while you're still on the screen with us, I just want to compliment our student athletes, because this year was a record year for student athletes in the classroom. We had 20 NJCAA academic All-Americans, and that's above a 3.6 GPA. So huge kudos to you, your teammates. Thank you for choosing State Fair.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you.
You know, as Christina mentioned, the things that students enjoyed getting together is going to be very, very different this year. However, we are able to implement technology that is keeping us connected and helping to keep us safe. As I said kind of in the beginning, that if there's a silver lining in this cloud of pandemic, it's that there has been resources. There have been resources given to us that we wouldn't have had otherwise. When we think about technology, the CARES Act, and it's very specific how we can spend those funds, but it has provided us resources that when it's all said and done, our IT department is going to be able to deploy about $1 million worth of technology into our hands, our instructors' staff hands, and into our classrooms to enable us to do some amazing things. So good morning, Mark. Mark Haverly is our Chief Information Officer. I know you and your team have been extremely, phenomenally busy and responsive. I want to say when the pandemic hit and Mark had an open Zoom room, I was like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? And others have done that. So Mark, your team was on call, I think pretty much 24/7 from the get-go, and technology is going everywhere. So welcome. We're glad for you to share information with all of us about what that means.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Technology everywhere. It really is. We are every place all the time, and it's just busy right now. So I've coined the phrase flexible delivery, and I can't take credit for that, even if you do like it or don't like it. I borrowed that phrase from somebody else, as a colleague. I mean, it really helped us, or helped me, to keep a perspective of what we're trying to do. So what is flexible delivery? In this case, it's a framework for instructional and business continuity. Since it touches so many parts of the institution, it really is a way for us to stay engaged and stay able to deliver all of our services regardless of where we're at. And it starts by doing that in 3 different areas that I call building blocks. The first building block is the instructional technology. The second building block is operations. And the third technology building block is access. In the instructional technology piece of it, we are actually touching all 114 classrooms in the institution. And it's completely replacing all the technology in those classrooms, not just a little bit, every bit of it. It also adds 2 mobile classrooms on carts to open or convert open areas to a classroom space this is handy when it comes to distance requirements. It's also replacing all the Thompson Center, Conference Center technology. And I probably get a lot of applause on that one, even though I can't hear you. But what this allows, it allows for remote instruction in the classrooms, remote attendance in the classrooms, and also remote support. We no longer have to jump out of our seats physically to come help somebody in a classroom for the instructional technology, and that's big. And the services behind this will evolve a little bit, but for right now, it's a direct replacement of the technology in those classrooms. And the underpinning technology for that is Zoom. For remote operation, flexible operations, it equips all full-time faculty and staff for remote capabilities. The first part of that is to convert all full-time employee computers that have that are desktop computers to a laptop. We saw that in the very beginning of this whole thing, we were borrowing laptops from academic areas to assign to employees so they could work from home. The academic areas need those laptops back, and we want to facilitate being fairly agile so that employees can continue that great service anywhere, whether it's at home or in a library somewhere, regardless of the situation. So that replaces quite a bit of technology on this campus. And also, we're going through a laptop replacement. We are replacing all laptops for faculty and staff, full-time faculty and staff that have laptops that are older than 2 years. We're doing the same thing for tablets. And this will bring us to a technology level that we know is compatible with our infrastructure. So that way we can be assured that you can do your job, the operations can continue, business can go forward, and we can service the students regardless of where we're at. The third part of that is the expansion of our wireless network for access. It's important that we give access wherever we can. And the most direct way to do that is expand our current wireless network to target the close proximity of the parking lots. So what does that mean? The first row or two of the parking lots will in most cases be covered so that people can park their cars and access our wireless network from their laptops during a crisis situation. This is I consider will be the first part of this project. I think there'll be additional projects coming on this one because it's kind of a narrow implementation. So timeline, most of the people are asking me about timelines of all these things. The instructional technology has already started. It started last month, and we have hit a lot of classrooms already, though there are a lot. We're probably, well, there it is. We're about 21% done with phase 1 of instructional technology. We have phase 2 yet to do, so we're not very far. We hope to have this project completed mid-year. There's some factors involved. You know, the best case scenario would be earlier, but it could be a little bit later. Desktop to laptop conversion will start in September, and you will be contacted and you'll have an appointment scheduled so that we can do that work and work with you on that. And flexible access has started as well, though we are in the procurement phase of that. So all this is happening right now, and this dashboard will be made available to you. It'll be on our website so that you can check the status. And if you have any questions regarding how it impacts your area or what we can do for you or ideas, I'm hoping that this is a building block and we get great ideas, and I'll use the word innovation. It just fosters creativity and a new approach for business of tomorrow. And I think that's really what the intent of the CARES Act funds were, is to equip us for those things.
Absolutely. You know, Mark, I hope people were listening and that they heard you say, this is replacing all of our laptops, all of our tablets, and putting new technology into our classrooms, which would mean that our budget is a concern going down the road. We don't know how quickly our state economy is going to recover and state funding will get back to normal. But annually, our computer refresh is a sizable budget. So by utilizing these CARES funds and doing a complete technology overhaul refresh now, that will save us money potentially for 5 years and longer into the future.
That's right.
I just, I hope people heard that, understand that. And when you think about that, what you would be doing over 5 years, you've crammed that and more into these few short months. So thank you to you and your team. We truly appreciate the technology help that you have given us behind the scenes and now are giving us to carry home and to have for teaching. We want our instructors to have as seamless of an opportunity to keep their students learning and to keep themselves available, whether they're here on ground or remote. So thank you.
Can I say one more thing for the fall startup? People have been emailing me, telling me what they see or what hasn't been done or needs to be done. And I would really urge you to keep that up, because don't assume that we have been told about something that needs to be done that isn't being done. We may not know about it. So please email me, text me, Skype me, do whatever you need to do, but let me know what you're seeing, whether it's just to give kudos or whether it's to say that something isn't done that needs to be done. Please let me know.
So Mark, we do have people monitoring, and the question came in. Sarah Nail wanted to just make sure she understood correctly that all classrooms will be Zoom capable when the instructional technology portion is completed.
That is correct.
Everybody ought to be cheering out there. Yeah, unbelievable. So Sarah, you heard correctly. That's phenomenal. Thank you, Mark.
There's a training question as well. Yes, there will be guides. This will be a multi-phase project on the services side. The first piece was just to get the equipment replaced. And so there will be some training, basic training for the how-tos, although I think you'll find it easier than the previous equipment, much easier actually. But then we'll add on the services side of it on how to do things. So.
All right. Well, if we have more technology questions that come in, we've got Mark on standby. He's not leaving our meeting and we can bring him back. So thank you, Mark. Really, really appreciate that. And I want to reemphasize that, yes, our college has received CARES money, and we have been working so hard, Keith and others, to make sure that we are spending those funds appropriately, correctly, so that we don't have to pay that money back. And the one way that was very clear was that we could use CARES money for technology to make remote learning possible. And so that's one of the ways that we know we're in compliance, and that's what we've been doing. The next thing up is our second drawing. And by the way, Michelle responded. So congratulations, Michelle. You got the first $25 campus store gift certificate. The next random drawing is up now. And Jolynn, who's this winner?
And the winner of the second $25 campus store gift certificate is Brad Henderson. Brad, you have 60 seconds to post and let us know that you acknowledge your receipt. Also, I wanted to let the winners know that you can go to the campus store to pick up your prize.
Brad, some people may think this was rigged, but Jolynn has truly done the random number draw on her phone. And congratulations, Brad. I know you're there, so hopefully you're going to respond and be the next winner. Congratulations. All right, well, moving on, we completed this within 55 minutes in, and I hope that you are enjoying this virtual remote convocation. Definitely, I can't say that I'm enjoying it as in past years, but I hope that what you've heard and learned so far is meaningful, and that you take things away that are important for us to begin and work together throughout this year. This next part of our program is talking about our culture of care in relationship to the pandemic, keeping us safe. As I began the program today, we said that from the initial start of the COVID-19 team, their very first meeting back in March, our focus and emphasis has been on our people's safety. And that was the first priority. And so everything that we did has been through that lens of how can we keep us as safe as possible. We know that we can't do it all, but how can we keep us as safe as possible? And Dr. Bates, I just want to compliment and thank you so much for your leadership with the COVID team. Can't tell you how many articles, CDC guidelines, information Brent has digested before each of the COVID team meetings and throughout the week, because early on things were changing so rapidly. They're still changing, and he's still reading and keeping up. So welcome. I know you and Dr. Porter and our whole team has been working tremendously hard to get this fall semester underway as safely for all of us and as effectively as possible. So I'm gonna get out of here, let you and Dr. Porter take over, but thank you, Brent. Couldn't do it without you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Anderson. And for the next 55 minutes, I will be lecturing on the CDC guidelines for COVID, so buckle up. Actually, I'm just kidding. I can't hear the groan of the crowd from the Zoom room I'm in right now, but I'm sure there was one. Times are different. Never would I have dreamed 33 years ago at my first in-service that someday I would be participating in a convocation on YouTube. In fact, YouTube wasn't even invented there. And if I would have been more productive with my daydreaming during convocation, thinking about fishing or whatever, if I was thinking about innovation and creativity or something, maybe I would have invented YouTube during convocation, but unfortunately I didn't do that. I do miss those days in the theater though, when there's a mad scramble by Coach Paneer and Donnie Loopers for the back row of the theater, and I'm sure you're sitting there on the back row right now. I'm sure the dress code's a little more casual today. Some of us dressed up a little bit. I was happy that my suit coat still fit from last February. I didn't even try my pants because with YouTube, you don't have to wear pants, I guess. I'm wearing pants, by the way, but not a complete long pants. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our culture of care and as it is related to COVID-19. And I think it's important to help put it into context. As we're in the middle of a pandemic, you know, I have a little bit of a sense I want to just put my hands over my head and hide. Why are we here in a pandemic? And I think it's important to let's just reflect quickly on our mission. You know, we're to providing this relevant, responsive parent experiences that empower students in our community. We're here because we're transformational. We're here because we transform lives. We're here because we're here for the student I met this summer who was from rural Benton County. He was the first in his family that's going to go to school, and he was so excited, and he had huge plans. We're here for that student from Benton County. We're here for the student folks that want we're here for folks in veterinary science, for barking dogs. We're here for folks that are looking to skill up in industry, for people that are on frontline jobs that want to skill up and move up in the organization, make more money. We're here for our hospitals, for our industries, our plants that need skilled workers. We're here for our communities that need planners and artists and leaders and critical thinkers and innovators. We're here for people like Lenny, people like Christina that spoke earlier. I want you to all close your eyes for just a second and think about a student that you impacted. That's the student we're here for. Friends, we're here for people like them, transforming their lives. So how do we do this? How do we do this in this pandemic? And how do we avoid this? This is a headline from the University of North Carolina's student newspaper. How do we avoid this in this pandemic time? Our challenge is maintaining this mission and avoiding that cluster during a pandemic. And the truth is, there is COVID-19 active in our community at this point in time. Our COVID-19 team, which I do want to recognize, this team has met at least weekly, sometimes twice a week, sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times during the day since the last week of February. And this group has spent an incredible amount of time and hard work in this. And we monitor the data. We have a dashboard maintained right now by Lisa Osterly, where we can monitor every county in our service region, the COVID cases. We also are monitoring a dashboard that is by county. And if I can get this over. So this is Pettis County. And so Pettis County's in the red with new daily new cases at a rate of 35.8 per 100,000 population. Our infection rate is 0.99 in the yellow. The goal is to be under 1. A goal of a number under 1 indicates that community transmission is slowing. Just earlier in the week, our transmission rate was over 1. And it's interesting to note that through our whole region, the Kansas City region is monitored. That region, when we started monitoring these statistics earlier this month, was well above 1. And since face cover mandates have been put in place in Kansas City and in Johnson County, that as a region, our rate has dropped below 1. So that's a good sign. And one really area of concern is this ICU headroom used. So our hospitalization rate is going up in Pettis County, and the beds available in our ICU units are going down. So we monitor these things regularly. We meet at least once a week with the Pettis County Health Department. Our extended site directors also meet with county health folks in their areas. And Dr. Anderson meets weekly with the director of the CEO of the hospital. So we monitor these things. This COVID's affecting our students and employees. We're created a dashboard, and we have plans for sharing this publicly on our COVID-19 webpage. But right now we have 5 students and 1 employee who are quarantined. excuse me, there, and 5 students and 1 employee isolated. So there is a difference in those words. These words have meaning, and that meaning is important. So people are isolated when they are COVID positive. And there's a length of time. There's some rules from the CDC on that isolation. And then quarantine is for people that have been exposed to somebody that's been COVID positive. So coincidentally, 6 students and employees quarantined, 6 students and employees isolated, and we have 12 students and employees that have been cleared through that process. So how do we stay safe in that environment? Well, we have a plan. And so that plan is publicly available on the website. We've talked about it quite a bit. We require people exposed or with symptoms to stay home. My allergies are killing me right now, and I'm coughing a lot. I'm not going to work just in case it's not allergies. People stay at home if you have symptoms. We're increasing the levels of work and study from home. We have aggressive physical distancing requirements in our classrooms. The capacity of all of our classrooms have been reduced quite significantly. We put in place physical distancing initiatives in offices, install plexiglass, and wherever possible, we're eliminating public gatherings. I did a recent walkthrough with Justin O'Neill, walked through campus, and the things we're doing is against everything I believe in about community college. We want to be a welcoming place. We want students to come in and gather and engage outside the classroom. We know how important that is. But today we're saying, come in, get your work done, get home, move out. We're eliminating those gathering places. We're trying to reduce as much as possible in excuse me, in-person meetings, and do other activities to keep people distanced. We're requiring face coverings. And so as you look from a public health perspective, the most important things that can be done: stay more than 6 feet away from people. The duration, if you're less than 15 minutes together, that lessens the chance of transmission. And then wear face coverings. Face coverings help to reduce transmission. And there's also some research emerging that it may also help reduce the severity of exposure if you're exposed. And then good sanitation. So that sanitation includes sanitation of physical facilities. It also includes good hand hygiene, which I just did not demonstrate, and I apologize for that. I should be coughing into my elbow. And washing your hands, using sanitation measures to keep your hands clean, avoid touching your mouth. Then there's been significant also facilities work done, including increasing the exchange of fresh outside air with inside air. Our facilities crews changed out filters in our air handling systems, and they plan to do so again in October. And they're using the high-rated filters that are recommended. So all of these strategies around safety are built around the CDC and their requirements. And I feel really confident in those initiatives that are being put in place to help keep people safe. That's our first priority. Then our second part of our strategy is to isolate and eliminate instances on campuses. One of the big risk areas on our campus is in the residence hall. And so we have residence hall students already moved in. The bulk of the students will start moving in on Friday. And as those students move in, all students will be tested for COVID-19. Those who are positive tested, we're going to ask to quarantine. We hope we're going to ask them to quarantine at home if possible, if they can return home. If not, if they can't return home, then we do have designated quarantine and isolation rooms. And we currently have 2 students in isolation currently from the residence hall. Our strategy is around keeping folks that have COVID-19 or been exposed to COVID-19 or have symptoms of COVID-19 off of campus, stay at home. So we have all of our policies and procedures around, allowing employees to work from home, move to work from home, and students to continue to work from home. So the strategy is, it's highly, we have to be compassionate and caring. We all have to be cognizant of our role in staying safe and not doing at-risk behaviors that we can carry into the workplace. Right now in Pettis County, the major transmission, the community transmission, is occurring, according to the health department, from people who are exposed at work and then taking it home. And we don't want people to have activities at home and bring it to work that would jeopardize our students or faculty, staff. So as these people are working from home, we have to be flexible. We have to move. So all of our faculty have been asked to develop processes so that if a student is quarantined or isolated at home, their instruction continues. Because remember that original goal, right? We're transformational. We can't transform their lives if they get sick and we make them drop out. We want their education to continue. And so for their education to continue, we have to all be engaged too as employees. So if we're asymptomatic, employees work from home, teachers work from home, that technology will enable us to, for our instructors to take over classrooms from a home computer and run all the equipment from home. And students then stay at home. So our faculty then are working out strategies to continue instruction while students study from home. Our last resort will be that pivot online. That pivot online that we had at mid-semester in the spring. That's our last resort. We may have times when we'll move things to an online, maybe specific departments or specific areas online for short periods of time, and then come back. Our technology investment has allowed us to do that. And that may keep us from having to pivot the entire campus online. But as we watch these indicators, there's no kind of specific number, 10 cases, 50 cases, 100 cases, that's going to be a trigger. It'll be a combination of things. It'll be absentee rates. Do we have a lot of students that are gone? Do we have a lot of faculty and staff that are gone? Do we have so many people absent that we can't maintain our operations in a safe way and an effective way? And what about the community capacity? Has our local hospital been overwhelmed, and has State Fair Community College, through its contact tracing, has it been discovered that State Fair Community College is contributing to increased community spread of that disease? And so all of these things will be taken into account with experts in the community, our public health experts, our hospital, our other partners, and our COVID-19 team to make these kind of decisions. So overall, our goal is to stay in session. We have multiple ways to continue our operations towards that transformational goal for students. And at the very last resort, then we'll have the ability to pivot online. I want to say one last thing I forgot to mention. One part of our strategy is contact tracing. So as someone is tested positive for COVID-19 or have been isolated or quarantined, we are asking employees and students to notify us. The simplest way to do that is through the COVID-19 email. I think it's covid19@sfccmo.edu. But through that email, if an employee or student indicates their status through that email, our team then will start doing the things that we need to do to address this. If it's a student or employee, we'll do some contact tracing to find out if there's been any exposures on campus that we need to take quick action to move those folks off campus, to isolate and quarantine those folks. And again, in that strategy to isolate and eliminate instances on campus. Then we'll be developing strategies with the faculty and the deans to help instruction to continue for those students, or as an employee working with the supervisors to help keep, if they're the employees are asymptomatic, to keep their work going as they work from home. And then there are other kind of bureaucratic stuff that we have to do around that process. So that contact tracing led by Rachel Dawson and Autumn Porter is an important part of our response. So I like to quote Dwight Eisenhower, a famous Kansas president, because that's where I'm from. Plans are worthless, but planning is essential. It's kind of the same theme as Lenny quoted Willie Nelson, who kind of advocated a plan as you go. Now, I should note that Willie Nelson had his own strategy for coping with the ambiguity of those practices. We do not recommend the Willie Nelson strategy for dealing with the stress of COVID-19. So I think it's safer to go with the Dwight Eisenhower. We've got great plans in place, but we can't anticipate everything, and we're going to be responsive and move forward on keeping our faculty and staff safe and our students safe, but continue our goal towards transformational activities for our students and for our communities. So with that, I'd like to pass the baton over to Autumn Porter, and she's going to talk about activities in that COVID-19 environment, recruitment and retention as we go on.
Did Dr. Anderson, her screen came up. Did you need to say something?
I was just going to make a comment about the Willie Nelson way of coping. Brent, you always make us laugh and insert a little bit of humor into what might otherwise be not as entertaining a morning. You know, Brent, I did want to, there was a question, and I think Dr. Porter, you may answer this one, but one of the individuals wanted to know, is there going to be mandatory testing? So one of you can answer that. And then how will people be notified if they're exposed? And then Brent, I just want to say, I do take exception to one of the things you said early on. You said you're not going to work. Well, you just are not coming into work. I just want to point out to all of you that this leadership team, and especially Dr. Bates, Dr. Porter, and everyone else you're hearing from, has been working since before spring break, didn't take a spring break, and has been working so hard to put all of these plans in place. And yes, the planning part is the important part. And we hope that the plans do us well. But anyway, Brent, thank you. And I'll get back off.
Thanks. When people in our communities are tested, they're notified by the testing, wherever they got their test, of their status. And that company that does the testing also notifies the public health department of the county in which the test was given. And so those folks then are asked by the health department to notify their work or school, but not required. And so our policies ask that employees and students report positive tests, and they can do so through that COVID-19 or by contacting Rachel Dawson, Anna Porter, their supervisor, directly. We are not at this point in time requiring testing. There's some challenges with required testing in the community, and we don't have maybe those resources, but we are planning, we do have some tests available for faculty and staff on Monday, the 24th. And we will be doing that testing by reservation only. So watch for announcements on the process to reserve a spot for testing for you. Though we will use our communication channels to advertise that process. So you can reserve a spot Monday for COVID-19 testing if you would like to do that. So Dr. Porter, you can clean up what I said wrong on that and then take off from there.
There is mandatory testing for anyone who's living in campus housing. So we are testing everyone when they move in. There is, I think the student athletes are also being tested, even if they don't live on campus. And some of our health science students will be subjected to testing based on the policies of the clinical locations that they're traveling to. So though we don't have the capacity to test everybody on a recurring basis, there are folks who are subject to mandatory testing, just not all of our students and staff right now. Dr. Bates, if you want to, he is my slide man because we're sharing the same PowerPoint. So welcome back from the worst spring break ever. The longest and most ridiculous spring break is finally at an end. I wanted to share with you kind of where we are with recruitment and retention going into the nutty fall semester that starts on Monday. What you have in front of you is a graph that represents unduplicated number of students that are enrolled on a weekly basis. So this isn't cumulative. This is just the number of people from Monday to Friday who enroll. You'll notice the very first week, we started off on April 7th when enrollment opened in the ditch. We had just pivoted to online. We had just extended the formal spring break, and nobody was really sure what the semester looked like. So when compared, the orange line is this year. When compared to the last 2 years, man, we started off in the hole. But I cannot articulate how proud I am to a strong enough degree of student services. You'll notice that orange line never fell below the lowest points, and it exceeded the highest point at times for enrollment in the previous years. We started off way behind, and our students had a tremendous amount of anxiety about what was going to happen next, but we've maintained. We're going to, probably the middle of that graph was when we started to set the goal and identify where we thought we were going to be budget-wise for the start of the fall semester. And every indication that we had mathematically was that we would come in, start classes on Monday at 15% below the same time last year. I put a little star on the graph with a little tiny bit of hope. We're moving ahead. If we can just keep momentum going, we may start the semester at between 9 and 10% down, which feels crazy to celebrate being 10% down in enrollment, but it's a lot better off than where we anticipated being, and it is much better positioned than many of our colleagues at other community colleges across the state of Missouri. So again, I just want to take a minute to congratulate everybody in student services. We're going to talk with them later today in an SSO meeting. But I need you all to be aware that they have worked like beasts all summer long. The tactics that we have used in the past didn't work anymore. You can't have high school visits. You can't hand out scholarships when graduations didn't happen. When festivals and fairs and employer enrollment fairs just didn't happen when businesses were closed. We lost the ability to do things the way we've always done them. And I'm beyond proud of where we are right now because of that. Financial aid, bless their hearts, right, have continued to make sure the student had their aid package and everything ready to go, even though the federal and state aid agencies were like playing checkers with a 3-year-old, right? They just move your pieces and make up the rules and wipe the board clean, and you'd have to start all over again. So they have responded and tried to be the arbiter of some governmental grace, even though those rules change on a regular basis. TRIO, in the middle of this, TRIO expanded their services to the branch campus locations, which is not anything that's ever happened before. Testing, and obviously the admissions team and navigators are just busy getting it done right now. So even though folks are still working from home and we have pets in the background and family running through and chaos with personal technology, they have MacGyvered this semester to get us to where we are right now. Duct tape, bubble gum, and sheer will, y'all, is we are bringing a group of students to you. Dr. Bates, if you don't mind to flip us over, we are passing the ball off. This is us taking the package of students that we were able to recruit and maintain using every ounce of creativity we have and giving them to you. If at all possible, I forgot the plug, if at all possible, can you leave my navigators and admissions team alone until Friday? We need them to be kind of leaning hard into finishing up what last little bit of enrollment needs to be done before Monday. In the meantime, we're passing the students off to you. They're in your hands now. One of the things that we really need you to focus on, Dr. Bates, if you don't mind to switch us forward, is make sure that you are raising those red flags. So if there is an academic concern, if there's an attendance concern, if there's something that just isn't setting well with your students in your classes, let us know, and let us know quickly so that we can respond. This is a semester when you can't give enough kudos. Be generous with your praise and your encouragement, because it will make a world of difference. We need you to make sure that you're still reporting behavioral and possibly even mental health concerns as quickly as you can. We understand that we have students that are coming into this semester with a tremendous amount of anxiety. For anybody that's listened to the Michelle Obama podcast that launched a few weeks ago, she referred to it as a low-grade depression. Yeah, I think there are a lot of us that can identify with that, and so will our students. So please make sure that if there is a concern, that you give us the chance to address it so we can keep them in your classes and keep them moving forward. Dr. Bates noted that we're asking everyone to share disclosures of COVID-19 positive results and anybody who's been exposed. So we've asked students to let you know as their faculty, to let someone that they trust know, their navigator, their coach. The easiest way and the fastest way to get this done is for them to just email covid19@sfccmo.edu. That's a confidential email box. Rachel and I are the only people who have access to it. And we are working hard to make sure that we address those concerns within 24 hours. So there was a question about how will someone know if they've been exposed, employee or student. As soon as we're made aware of the issue, we're reaching out to students. And not just once, like we're just right on the edge of stalking them, right? I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna text you, I'm gonna email you, I'm gonna email whoever else is your emergency contact. We need to make a contact with those students or employees within 24 hours. And then there's a team of people who have completed the Johns Hopkins University contact tracing training, right? We have people who are certified as contact tracers on campus that are walking through a questionnaire and narrowing down who they've had contact with within that window of time. That's going to help us slow down the spread of infections on campus, or even mitigate the spread of infections on campus. So the sooner we can get information to support students, if that's a nudge to suck it up and turn their homework in, they missed a deadline, try harder, they need something from the food pantry, or we're going to have to start offering case management for them because they can't come to campus. If you fall into one of those windows of time for someone who is tested positive, and we know that you are closer than 6 feet apart for longer than 15 minutes without a mask, you're going to get a call or an email from Rachel or I, and we're going to talk through all of the circumstances. We're going to run through that full questionnaire and make a determination about if you're quarantined and for how long. Just understand going into this semester that one of the two of us is going to ruin your day between now and December. We could just about guarantee that we're going to take a student offline out of one of your classes. We're going to raise some concern about folks who you share an office with, or maybe that you had lunch with. Just be prepared that this will be frustrating, and you can cuss my name all day long if you need to. But we just want to make sure that you understand that there is a process in place, and we are running that as fast as possible so that it doesn't have long-term implications and we are able to stay on campus to the end of the semester. Dr. Bates, if you don't mind switching over. So one of the things I wanted to share with you today is what we know about the students who are coming to you this fall. There's fewer of them, right? As of today, there's only 9% fewer of them than there were last year, which is still a weird, super weird thing to celebrate. Anyway, they are younger this year than they were the same group last fall. So last fall, the median age was 20. People, as of last night, people who are enrolled in classes for fall 2020, the median age is 19. There are a whole lot more 18-year-olds than there are non-traditional students. Reaching out and recruiting those non-traditional students has been a challenge. That's been almost impossible for us to pull off this summer. We're making every effort we can, and we haven't found what sticks yet. What you do know about your 18-year-olds in your classes is they feel robbed of the last half of their senior year. So there's still a lot of anxiety about whether they're prepared for college. There's a lot of frustration that this is not what they wanted. This is not what they had expected from college. So you got some emotional baggage coming at you. There's no way to prevent that. We also know that they are more likely to be women this year than they have in the past. State Fair Community College has almost always been somewhere between 60 and 66% female students. Not unusual. That's something that a lot of rural community colleges bump up against. Men, particularly white men in rural communities, have steadily fallen off in terms of higher ed enrollment for probably 5 years now. This is the first time there have been more than 2 to 1 women to men on campus. I wish that the world was a little more egalitarian than it is, but the reality is these are folks who are going to be more likely to have a responsibility for caretaking outside of college. They may be parents, they may be caring for the elderly. So your female students may be bringing more to the table than just the focus on their education. And we just need you to recognize that. Again, our students are almost all from outside of Pettis and Benton County. Substantially more students pay Missouri tuition than in district. So if they're driving to campus, there's a half-hour commute. And as Dr. Bates noted, we've kind of eliminated a lot of the hanging out and extra resources and the places to spend time on campus while they're here. They're driving in, they're getting business done, and they're heading home. They're more likely to be full-time students. Again, that has a lot to do with their age, right? There aren't as many non-traditional students, so there aren't as many part-time students this fall. One thing that stuck out to me preparing for today was that when they filled out their application, some of them a year ago, we asked, where do you intend to take your classes? Only 8% of them, 219 of those 3,000 and some students said, I would love to be online. So if your classes have shifted to Zoom or your classes have shifted to Canvas, that's not what they wanted. That's not what you wanted. That's not what any of us wanted. So it's okay to empathize. I know it gets worn out saying we're all in this together, but that's not what they signed up for when they decided to be a college student, just like this is not what you signed up for when you became faculty or staff. And then again, the bulk of them more than half of them are working towards one of our degrees or certificates in health sciences or tech ed. Dr. Bates, if you don't mind to switch us on. So what we need from you as we're handing this off is please, 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 let this not be the semester where you build the reputation as the hard ass on campus. We really are leaning hard on your ability to continue to be creative, even though you're tired, your ability to extend compassion and kindness, even when you don't feel like it's warranted. Please, please, please understand that once we've got them to you, we're relying on you to keep them in your classes and keep them moving forward. And that will have as much to do with your amazing talents at pedagogy and who you are as humans. So just the joke that, don't make them cry, right? They've got enough going on in the background. When we sent out CARES Act funds back in May, we set aside a chunk of money for students who, if the original distribution wasn't enough to cover what their immediate needs were, they could ask for additional funds. That's something that Angel and Yvette and I review once a week. That application is closed until classes start again, but then there's still money to support students who are having a direct impact from the COVID-19 pandemic outside of the classroom. We know that there are more than 620 unduplicated requests for support from our students, and most of them are rent, groceries, childcare. Though we're doing what we can to support the shift in technology as an institution, they're just struggling. So we'll pull this all together. It's somebody else's turn now. I know that we're asking a lot of you. In addition to just the stellar instruction that you offer and that students recognize and that other institutions recognize, just know that we are deeply thankful for you, and we're here cheering you on. We're going to be working hard in the background to have the next round of students ready. So we've done everything we can with the ball we've got. So they're yours now.
Thank you, Autumn. Your passion, your love for our students, your love for our staff shines through every time you talk to us. So thank you, Dr. Bates. A question, I think you're ready to answer this, is if a student tests positive and yet in a class and we've remained 6 feet away from them and have worn a mask, is it unlikely that we will have to quarantine?
If you keep your distance, and I know how hard that is for some of you who pace the room, right? If you keep your distance and you have your mask on, you are far less likely to be sent home for 2 weeks than if you choose not to. And the same goes for students. The rooms have been spread out. The facilities team has worked their tails off to measure it out 6 feet apart. If they will just comply with what we need them to do, stay apart, wear a mask, then we might be able to get to Christmas. But it's going to be everybody working on that together.
Dr. Bates, do you want to add anything to that?
6 foot, fit less than 15 minutes, wear a face covering. Those are the 3 things.
Answer the phone when I call you, right? If we're calling for contact tracing, don't hide from me.
Thank you. Thank you both. One of the things I want to emphasize that you heard here this morning is that mental health is a huge thing. And I just want to say that all of us have had our moments when it's just like we think we can't do this. I know I had one of those driving one weekend out of town, and I was calling Brent and saying, I just don't think we can do it this way. He's had to talk me down a few times. I know, Dr. Porter, we've all shared together. I tell you this story because our leadership team, sometimes it might look like we're not visible to you. My cell number is on my answering machine. I can tell you that any one of our leadership folks would be glad to have you call them, to talk to them, and they have been doing phenomenal work to help us get to this point in the semester. And yes, I know our panic moments aren't over. I know that I'm going to be someplace again and having maybe a meltdown, and you may as well, because we're scared, we're frightened. But if we like Christina, our student, said, if we wear our masks and we do what is expected of us, yes, our goal here is to get to the end of the semester successfully, safe, healthy, and well. So thank you, Brent. Thank you, Autumn. We're on now to the next drawing. And this is the third one. So Jolynn, who is our winner this time?
Okay, we have our third drawing for the $25 Campus Store gift certificate, and the winner is Lisa Adams. Lisa, you have 60 seconds to make a post on either our Facebook employee page or the YouTube. Let us know that you're there and you have won a prize.
Thank you very much, Lisa. We hope you call in post and let us know that you heard your name called. I can't, again, thank the employee engagement community enough. It was their idea to make these gifts, Campus Store gift certificates available. And we said, well, we don't know if you're going to be watching, sticking with us. Hopefully, you're still enjoying your coffee and eating and drinking or whatever while you're engaged here. But Lisa, thank you very much. Oh, she's already checked in on Facebook. Awesome, way to go. And thank you, Employee Engagement Committee. You are tremendous and we truly appreciate your help for that. All right, next, moving on. And I think we're doing okay time-wise. We have just 20 minutes left. For those of you who are up yet, just saying, it's 20 till 11. So the next is going to be a quick update on our Workforce Innovation Center. This project is, many of you may have expected to see a big pile of dirt on the east side of campus when you come into campus this fall. It's not there yet. We expect it will be. We still have plans to get underway to construct a Workforce Innovation Center. And then eventually we are working toward a Center for Excellence to renovate our Fielding Technical Center. Here to share with you a little bit about the capital campaign that is underway. I'm very proud to introduce our Executive Director of the College Foundation, Mary Troiner, and she's also going to announce our mini grant winners. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to say that when everybody speaks today, we've talked multiple times about how we feel about a pandemic and the uncertainty. I am no different than anybody else. I have to tell you that many of you have personally asked me, and the community has asked me, are we still moving forward with building a Workforce Innovation Center? And we are. That is a capital campaign that we have a $10 million goal, which is a hefty goal during a pandemic. We all know that. But we also have a new motto that it's about community. We've named this capital campaign, A Stronger Workforce, Greater Community. When I first started working at State Fair, one of the things that I truly understood more than anything was that I felt welcomed all the time. And with that welcome was this feeling of a family. That might feel a little disconnected now that we are all about Zoom, but I promise you that there are people around you willing to help in any situations that you ask for help for. So don't be hesitant to do that. Like Dr. Anderson said, we are in this capital campaign to build a facility that'll be a 35,000 square foot facility. Hopefully we will break ground next month, and then there will be another phase to that will be renovating the Fielding area that we are evacuating. And back in December, we had a lead gift from Darlene Bradbury and her sister Shirley Rowden to start this whole process. And to give you to update, in this $10 million campaign today, we have raised over $2.1 million. And I'm very proud to say that is due to commitments that you have done, our foundation board members have done, our past galas have done. So that is a tremendous success at this point and this level. There's still a long, big road ahead of us. But I'm very positive of staying committed to the goal of raising the dollars for this college. One of you might ask in regards to the annual employee fund. Last year, when I stood on stage, I had a donor that challenged us to be at 100% commitment level due to a pandemic. When I finished, when I left campus and started working from home in the spring break week, we weren't there yet. But I am happy to tell you that that donor has still given us the gift of the $25,000. And we were at 65% as of June 30th of our participation level for employee giving. And I thank each and every one of you that has been willing to support our capital campaign and our employee work annual fund. That annual fund will still be announced in regards to going toward our capital campaign. That information will come forward to you in the month of September. For those of you that have participated in the past, you will receive a plaque if you're a new employee, and you will also receive a little disc in regards to your participation level. And again, I know that some of you are continuing to work from home. So if you are one of those employees, be aware that it will be in your mailbox. But if you are on campus and you see me in the hallways, I will do everything possible to stay my 6 feet of distance. If anybody of you understand in the development world, most of us are great people persons, and we want to see you all face to face. So raising dollars in a Zoom process is quite the challenge also. But when I see you face to face, there is a smile under my mask, and I do thank you for being part of State Fair Community College. When we get done with this facility of building, we're going to increase our college capacity for training by over 200%. That is a great accomplishment to two developing areas of our college that continue to provide workforce to our community. So enough about the campaign itself. Again, I can't thank the Olin Howard Family Foundation enough for starting our lead gift into the capital campaign. I hope that each of you consider the participation level in regards to where we're at. And then the other is in regards to the foundation mini grants. We're going to continue the foundation mini grants come the month of September. We will be putting new applications up. But for this year, we have 3 winners that we're going to announce. The first foundation mini grant winner for this past submissions was Matthew Clark and Matthew Carbinas. They applied for automotive equipment to be replaced. This is a piece of equipment that was 18 years old. In regards to the parts for this equipment are no longer available, so they're obsolete. And so this will replace a piece of equipment that will help for training for our automotive students to get more certification in the air conditioning area. The second grant, as we scrolled through, you might have seen, but we're not going to burst anybody else's bubble. Yvette Sweeney and Victoria Stemberger applied for a mobile navigator cart. I congratulate you in regards to helping us make mobile enrollment more accessible to our students. This mobile cart will bring us into any area that has a Wi-Fi access and make it easier for our navigators to do enrollment processes through this navigator cart. The third winner to our mini grants this semester is Darren Paneer. Darren applied for a mini grant for an athletic trainer piece of equipment called the Graston Technique Instrument Set. This will help our athletic trainer with developments for enhancing and optimizing our athlete muscle performance. So I congratulate each and every one of you. We had a total of 15 applications submitted this past semester. The top 3 winners will receive their full application of award amount that they applied for. Congratulations. The mini grants will continue, and to let you all know, those applications will start back up in the month of September also and run until the end of the fall semester. We will pick new winners, and those will be announced at their spring convocation. I want to thank each and every one of you again for your participation in the past year. Employee fund, just to give you all a recap of where you personally raised money this past year. You raised a little over $19,000 in regards to money for the employee annual fund. I thank each and every one of you. I wish you all the best of luck in your semester, and know that your foundation office of Karen Simon, Megan Cannon, and myself are here to help you all in your future applications toward the mini grants and toward anything in the semester.
Mary, thank you so much. You know, our foundation is critical to the success of our whole institution. They provide over $200,000 annually in scholarships to our students, and the work you are doing for our capital campaign, we just couldn't say thank you more. So it's just getting started, and people will be hearing more about that. We have a group meeting this afternoon, meets regularly to talk about the campaign. So Mary, thank you so much, and congratulations to you mini grant winners. We would all be cheering for you if we were in person. We're getting close to the end, but don't give up on us. There's another door prize yet to come, but you first have to listen to Darcy McPhail, who is our executive director, about moving our new strategic plan forward and the accreditation update. Yes, we are still in the accreditation news cycle, but it hasn't left us. So good morning, Darcy.
Good morning. Good morning, friends. Jolynn, I'm ready to share if you'll stop sharing. All right. Well, I wanted to start off this morning with a brief video. So that has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm going to talk to you about today, but I thought at this point in the presentation, a little chuckle might be in order. So I appreciate your indulgence. And by the way, I did run that by Angie Gentry first. I did not offend her. So now moving on with strategic planning. I'd like to respectfully and in good humor take issue with Dr. Bates's quote that planning is worthless. I think our plan is worthless. Our plan is very worthwhile. But I know that that's a famous quote from Eisenhower. I looked at it myself, but chose not to use it today. I've been asked to go fast, so I'm going to go really fast. Our mission statement, and Dr. Bates did refer to this earlier too, and I hope it's something you'll all commit to memory. State Fair Community College provides relevant and responsive learning experiences that empower our students and communities to prosper. The first line you should be able to remember pretty easily. State Fair Community College provides relevant and responsive, little alliteration there, learning experiences that empower our students and communities to prosper. It's a very simple statement, but it's a very powerful one. To help you ingrain that into your thinking, there will be posters that are going to be placed up around campus, replacing these that you might see in various places. So we've got the new posters on order. They're going to look like this. It has the basic mission statement at the top, and then it has several statements that start with the heading of "In support of this mission, SFCC will." And it lists out in more detail how we are going to go about fulfilling that mission. So if you have one of those old posters in your area and it doesn't get replaced fairly soon, please let me know. The strategic plan priorities, there are 6 of them, and I'm just going to go through them quickly with a little bit of commentary. The first priority is to ensure exemplary teaching and learning. And when we wrote this back in January or February, we did not envision that it was going to take the shape that it is today, because it certainly means something different now to ensure exemplary teaching and learning than it did in February. But we know that that is always our top priority as an educational institution. The second priority is to maximize enrollment and student persistence. That's taken on even greater emphasis with the loss of state funding. And kudos, as Dr. Porter said, to her and to everybody in student services for really ramping up the work and the creativity this year to maximize. They truly did maximize our enrollment to the greatest degree possible. Enhancing the student experience is the third priority. Just like the first one, this looks a whole lot different than what we thought it was going to look like when we wrote this priority. Connecting students with career and transfer opportunities, nurturing community relationships, both of those things remain very important. And number 6, optimizing institutional health. And as I said, when we rolled these out in March at the Professional Development Day, just because this is the last priority doesn't mean it's the last priority. It just is number 6. But without this one being done, without having our house in order, none of the others are possible. So that still remains an important priority as well. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're going back to general psychology here. And why do I bring this up? Back in February, when we were writing the strategic plan, we were developing the strategic plan, I'd say, we were operating way up here at self-actualization. We were determining how can we be the very best institution we can be and what steps do we need to take to get there. Well, then came March and we got dragged all the way down to the bottom of this hierarchy, where we as an institution were trying to figure out very quickly, how do we basically survive? How do we deliver instruction? How do we pay the bills? So being able to think and operate up here at the top level of the pyramid kind of went away for a while. But now as we get into, a few months into this, we're starting to creep our way back up the pyramid. Our maintenance department and the COVID team has been working on how to safely bring people back together. We're working on how to bridge that disconnect that many of us felt during this time. So we're moving our way back up the pyramid, but we're not going to forget about strategic planning. We still have to continue to move forward with that. So how are we going to implement the strategic plan? I'm going to introduce you to a couple different options. All institutions, organizations have strategic plans, and there are different ways that they can be implemented. The first path is someone writes a strategic plan, they print it and they put it on a shelf, and then everyone in the organization continues to do as they will and draw connections to the plan when they can. Path number 2 is that you develop a strategic plan, and developing is a lot different than writing, because developing includes a lot of collaboration, a lot of study, a lot of input. And I think we did develop a plan. We did not just write a plan. And then you publish and operationalize the plan. Publishing meaning you're putting it out there for everyone to see. We're not just going to print it and set it aside. And we're going to follow the plan by purposefully and intentionally designing our actions aligned to the plan. So that's a lot different than doing what we want and then pulling the connections together. We're going to plan in advance that what we do aligns with the strategic plan. So which of these, back and forth, which are we going to do? Obviously, we're going to do plan number 2, right? We're not going to go backwards and do plan number 1. So continuing on implementing the strategic plan. Our strategic plan has 6 priorities. We have 18 objectives, and we have literally dozens of strategies. We are not going to do all these things in year 1. This is a 5-year plan. Even if year 1 was a perfect year, we would not be able to implement all of these things in the first year. And with the additional challenges that we know we're going to face, we're going to take baby steps this year. I want to introduce you to a new concept, a term you're going to hear, and that's called annual areas of focus. We're going to take these dozens of strategies and we're going to break them down over a 5-year cycle. And the ones that we choose to focus on each year will be called the annual areas of focus. I'm not going to go into detail on how those are going to be determined, just we don't want information overload right now. And I'm running out of time. So suffice to say, it's going to be a collaborative process with teams that are focused on each of the priorities, ELT, and the College Council. So we will choose those annual areas of focus, and we'll be announcing those and putting them out throughout the institution. Another term you're going to hear is operational planning units. And I don't want you to get bogged down in the wordiness of that title. If you work at State Fair Community College, you're already in an operational planning unit. You might be in Division 3, or you might be in the business office, or you might be in athletics. Those, just for my purposes, are being called operational planning units. And once we've determined the annual areas of focus, each of these operational planning units is going to be asked to write a unit plan. This will be sometime in late September or a little bit after that. And your unit plan is going to describe how you as a unit will be addressing some or all, whatever is possible, of the annual areas of focus. How can you plan intentional and purposeful actions to achieve those annual areas of focus? It's going to look something like SMART goals. I will have a template out available for you to help you to make it as least painful as possible, to make it as productive as possible. And then at the end of the year, there will be an annual report. We'll ask you to do a follow-up and let us know how you did in reaching the goals that you set as a planning unit. Let's see. Am I at the end? Nope. Okay, I'm moving on to accreditation. Right now in the accreditation cycle, we are waiting for our 4-year assurance review. That doesn't seem right. I don't think we're waiting. We are not waiting. We are preparing. We're preparing for our 4-year assurance review. This is the visual from HLC that says in years 1 through 3, after our accreditation is reaffirmed, we are preparing for an assurance filing. And in year 4, we have our assurance review. And that consists of a very lengthy report addressing the criteria for accreditation and federal compliance. And they do a virtual review. And if everything looks good, they don't come to our campus. And so that's how I'm planning for it to work. And I knew that we were going to be doing this in the 2022-2023 academic year. I found out last week what our date is, what our lock date is going to be for that report. And it's August 1st, 2022. So that is less than 2 years away. That may seem like 2 years, we've got all the time in the world, but we have so much to do between now and then. So as we prepare for our assurance review, when I put that date in August 1st, 2022, and then back it up, kind of reverse engineer it, we know it's going to take 6 or 7 months to write, review, and revise that report, which leaves us about 15 to 17 months to enact. And the word act is in big bold for a reason. We have to enact all of the processes and the changes that we want to describe in that report as saying, this is how we do business. And there are still a lot of things that we need to get into our normal routine. The strategic plan, standing committees, long-term budgeting is something that's a new area of focus for HLC. And I know that is on Keith's radar. We have some new institutional assessment type plans like non-curricular program review and co-curricular that we're working towards. And I know there are going to be departmental and program changes that you want to implement as well. So time is fairly limited, 15 to 17 months, not just to implement those things, but to have them down pat and ready to brag about the progress. So there is, as I said, there's a lot of work to do. It's going to be difficult to focus on that top level of Maslow's hierarchy when we're still struggling with maybe some of those bottom levels, but we still have the requirement to get there. So we're going to continue to work on that. And my quote for the day comes from my favorite person to get quotes from, and that's Winston Churchill. Continuous effort and not strength or intelligence is the key to unlocking our potential. Thank you so much for your time. I apologize for going late. Dr. Anderson, I talked as fast as I could.
It is not your fault. And, thank you so much, Darcy. Darcy told us that sometimes she might be like a chihuahua, nipping at our heels to keep us going. And I love that analogy because we need that. So Darcy, thank you. We hope that people see, we've kind of been in this little bit of a lull. The pandemic hit and we stopped thinking about accreditation, stopped thinking about the strategic plan, but it's now time to get back at it and to keep moving forward. That's what our institution is all about. So thank you. Thank you, Darcy. Now we're up for our last and final drawing, and we're just about to the end, if you remember the agenda. So Jolynn, who's our final winner?
Okay, our final winner And as long as they contact us in 60 seconds via our employee Facebook page or the live feed, we'll be done. Otherwise, we do have a backup. But the final one for the $25 campus store gift certificate is Brett Butler. Brett Butler, you are the winner. Again, all winners need to go to the campus store to pick up their prize.
All right, super. Thank you very much. Just a couple of announcements that I wanted to make sure while Brett is checking in is that you will find when you come back to campus that we have centralized the mail room, and during the pandemic, it was phenomenal. The mail room scanned our mail and sent it to us. They're not going to be able to continue that, and they don't need to because we're back and we can go get the mail. But please know that that has now been centralized, as well as we have a temporary regulation 5270 that explains that contractors, vendors, and suppliers need to check in and register at the physical plant, and that parcel delivery will be centralized along with receiving. Those can all be found out on the COVID-19 information page on our website, and you can see those. Before we get to the final Sizzle Award, which is phenomenal today, I do want to take just a second to recognize 3 individuals who really kind of got left out of the celebration when we got to the end of the year, but we're in the midst of a pandemic. And those were our instructor and adjunct instructor and staff members of the year. So a big shout out to Jack Hayes. He was named our instructor of the year. Jack has taught almost 15 years at State Fair Community College and does a phenomenal job. Robin Blackburn has been teaching as an adjunct since 2006, and she was named the adjunct instructor of the year. And Dana Goshen, congratulations. She's a TRIO student success coach. She was named our staff member of the year. I do want to say that there came in one question, and I want to answer it now before we get to the Sizzle Award, in that someone asked, we had put in our budget that we would obtain savings through staff early retirements. And that we did have 2 staff retirements that took advantage of the early retirement incentive. We knew it might not generate as much savings, but we had built that in as a contingency. So we are fine with the budget. We wanted to allow our employees an opportunity to make the choice rather than us having to make decisions about more positions than we had to make decisions about. So I would just say that we did have 2, and we wish those employees well in retirement. So one being Winnie Craig in the MPC, and the other one being Jody Fudge. As we wrap up this morning, thank you for sticking with us. We went slightly over, but I hope that you have found this virtual convocation meaningful. Jolene, you can advance, and we'll bring on Rachel to share information about the Sizzle Award. That award, when I came to State Fair Community College and my first convocation and that award was presented, I just thought, this is the coolest thing ever. I know State Fair Community College is special, but when they develop an award that recognizes our employees who sizzle, it just was so meaningful. So William Thomas was our spring 2020 recipient. And as you know, with this award, it's an award that goes to an employee who then selects the next recipient. And Rachel is going to come on and share William's script and who our new Sizzle recipient, award recipient is.
So thank you, Dr. Anderson. So as she mentioned, the Sizzle Award is a peer-to-peer award, and it's given every August and January during convocation. So it is really exciting because it is employees recognizing the effort and work that other employees are putting into the day-to-day. And, it travels around, and sometimes sometimes, you know, some of those folks are really behind the scenes and not everybody sees all the things that they do for the entire campus community. So I really love hearing what everyone has to say every convocation as we move this award around. So just so you guys see, I have William, this is the traveling skillet. So this is the award that the winners get pulled on to for half the year. And then once they pass it on, it gets replaced with a little mini one that has their names on it. So I'll be happy to deliver William's mini skillet in the next week or so. But I do have William's speech that he sent over. So I'm just going to read this. For this fall semester, I wanted to recognize someone that many people do not realize is on campus. In the basement of Hopkins building is institutional research. Though they do not work directly with students, this person has been influential in getting grant money for the college. The TRIO program would not have been renewed if it were not for this person. They assist with the entire grant process from gathering data to writing. They are a fantastic and kind person who deserves to be recognized. So this fall 2020 Sizzle Award recipient is Sean Cripe. Congratulations, Sean. I'm very excited. I love hearing what William had to say about you, and you definitely deserve the recognition. So I'll deliver your skillet soon.
Congratulations, Sean. Phenomenal selection, and all of our employees are phenomenal. But Sean, you really deserve this Sizzle Award for all of your work. I thank you so much for staying attentive and tuned in to our fall 2020 convocation. I know that this is we are in the midst of a pandemic. We're in the midst nationally in our country of Black Lives Matter, unemployment, people hurting. Many of you, this pandemic has affected personally. And I don't want to lose sight of that. So I think that this civil rights icon quote is so important because we are strong and we are here for each other. So I would just say that as we conclude, be hopeful, be optimistic, never lose that sense of hope, as John Lewis said. Thank you for joining us today for our first virtual convocation. You do your part. I promise I'll do my part, because a culture of care depends on me and it depends on you. And I wish each of you a safe and well semester. Thank you so much.